So I was born in 1930 in Budapest, Hungary, to an intellectual family. My father was an architect, and later he was in state employment, pretty high-ranking state employment. My mother studied art at the Art Academy, but she became really a housewife and was educating me and my brother, who was born 5 years earlier, my late brother who passed away last year. The environment was pretty intellectual. We had millions of books, just as I have it here in New York. The books were in Hungarian, German, English, and French. There were no Russian books at that time. And I really enjoyed reading the encyclopedias. We had 2 big German encyclopedias from the beginning of the 20th century, which meant that when I started reading them, I had at home built-in dictionaries. I could always ask my mother or father what a word meant, so it was relatively easy to acquire other languages as well. I was always interested in nature and science. When I was 8, I had a chemistry kit. I had a tool chest. I was building electric equipment, voltmeter, galvanometer, and so on. I did a lot of chemical experiments as a young man before I was 10. And for me, it was self-evident already at that time that I would like to do science. I had 2 choices, astronomy or biology. Astronomy was out of reach because Hungary didn't have enough equipment to do observational work, whereas for biology you needed nothing more than a microscope, which was easily accessible. Of course, having born in 1930, I went through several major events in the world. I remember when my father started crying in 1939, when the Second World War broke out. Actually, I remember that we had chicory coffee in boxes, which had little cards of various topics. And one of the cards, serious, was on the Spanish Civil War. So I remember still one card which shows a bombed out house and so on when I was 7 or 8. I lived through the siege of Budapest, which started on Christmas Eve, finished on February 17. So I have seen fighting. I have been in the basement. We were waiting for the Russians to come in. Their behavior was not what we expected at that time. But I was never interested in politics. I was interested in science. I subscribed or became member of the Popular Science Society in Hungary when I was 16. So I got the news or journal. The person who was the librarian took me under his wing, so I got interesting books when I was 16. There was a popular science lecture series at the University of Sciences. Again, at age 16, I went there. The professor of plant physiology, he was a very good cinematographer as well, showed films and spoke about his work. And I went up to him and asked if I could visit him in the Department of Plant Physiology at the university. So from age 16 or 17, I had contact with academic life in Budapest. So this professor, Nandor Gimesi, was really my first scientific patron. I was had to decide in what to study. During that time, around 1948, Lysenko, the Russian agronomer who destroyed Russian agronomy, became powerful. He was just becoming the power in biology at that time. So the question was, should I study biology when biology became a Marxist biology in Hungary? I applied to the science faculty, I was admitted, but I applied to the medical faculty and I was admitted there. So I decided to study medicine, to study one organism in great detail and in a proper way. I never wanted to practice, and I never even did practice after I graduated. I joined the student group at the Department of Histology and Embryology when I was first-year student. When I was third or fourth-year student, I was already part of the teaching team of that department and did pretty unguidedly my research work. The professor was interested, but he really didn't guide me in too many details. But through being interested in the things and reading a lot, I could do some work which was of some interest on the digestion of unicellular organisms, protists. And I was brave enough that one of my short papers I sent to Nature. So one of my first publications was published in Nature. And I sent, well, the work was on the digestion of unicellular organisms, and we made some interesting findings in this territory. I published several papers in American journals, the Journal of Protozoology, which meant that my name or my work became known outside of the country. I realized in 1960, when I was fortunate enough to attend an international congress in Paris in cell biology, that what I was studying were actually in the center of interest of cell biology at that time. It was study of lysosomes. Turned out the food vacuoles in which the food is digested in the protists is a lysosome type structure. So while I was a high school student, my father died just after the siege of Budapest, and before he died, he mentioned that you should learn Russian because the Russians will be here, and it will be an important language, and that in one of the closets or bookcases, we have some Russian language lessons, which I didn't pick up on then. But when I was 16, I decided that indeed the Russian language will be interesting and useful. So I picked up a little German-Russian language book, learned the grammar, and started reading biology in Russian. So by the time I went to the university, I was ready to start making translations, doing refereeing Russian journals. So this way I became very much involved, first of all, with Russian science, but at the same time I became involved with the senior academic community. Very soon I started interpreting Russian scientists visiting Hungary, with whom we always visiting the high professors. So I became a reasonably well-known person with Miklós can do the translation, Miklós can do the translation, the interpretation. And this helped me a lot when later I decided to go abroad, because everyone knew me and everyone supported my wish to go to study abroad.